of a constituent, on behalf of a constituent who feels shortchanged in respect of some of his civil obligations. Maybe from the content of the petition and the substance of it may not derogate from the heading that is the subject of this observation. So I respectfully crave your indulgence, sir. Maybe when upon a careful perusal of the petition, the purport of autonomous community would be borne out by His grace.
The chairman of public petitions should please take note that there is no such thing as an autonomous community under the Nigerian Constitution. Maybe the meaning or the intendment may be different, and so when this thing goes to the Public Petitions Committee, they should thoroughly interrogate that and make the necessary corrections in their deliberations.
Copied, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any other? So all petitions refer to the Committee on Public Petitions. There's nobody here from Business as Rules. Where's the chairman? There is a matter that's supposed to come up today. I don't see it on the other paper, and then I see that the other paper is loaded. I don't know when we're going to get to consider the budget debate. Honorable Maki, quickly, maybe just read your title and prayers. Okay. Yeah. Are you a member of the committee? You are not a member of the committee? Okay. Is there any member of the Business and Rules Committee present? I think many of the members are. Okay, let Ben, you be the pretender to the throne for today as the chairman of Business and Rules, and hopefully you'll be able to answer many of the questions. Yes, Maki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my honorable colleagues. I'm Abubakar Maki Eleman. I represent Malamuduru Kaugama Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity, and you asked me directly to go to the motion and also the prayers. A timely intervention by the federal government through the Ministry of Health and other related agencies to urgently address the my honorable colleagues, my prayers are that the House Committee on Health should immediately look into this issue and liaise, urge and ensure that the Ministry of Health and other health-related agencies take immediate steps in order to protect the lives of the good people of Malamuduru Kaugama Federal Constituency in Jigawa State from further death as a result of the malaria infestation. The second prayer, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, is to anti-malarial drugs, mosquito nets, and frequent as well as periodic fumigation of the constituency should be ensured in the federal constituency. I so submit, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Lady, please. That it's urgent. And should we take it, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Right hand. Those in favor, you read your motion, right? I'm trying to move with the speed of light, so excuse me if we're taking some shortcuts. So those in favor of the motion as read by Honorable Maki, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Right hand. Honorable Leke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Lake Abej, this is my name again. I rise public importance under Order 8, Rule 4 and 7 to move the motion on the urgent need to resolve the debacle between the Central Bank Technical Committee on Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme and Adani Mega System Limited, hindering the takeoff of Nigeria Customs Service e-custom modernization project. I so move, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague.
Honorable Isiaka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable members. Good morning. Ibrahim Ayokunle Isiaka is my name. I represent the very good people of Ifo, Ewekoro Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State, Mr. Speaker. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to support, or the motion, to support that the House do suspend all our red-band rules and accept that this motion is of topmost urgent importance to the nation that it should be taken now. I so support, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
And those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Leke.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Urgent need to resolve the debacle between the Central Bank Technical Committee on Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme and Adani Mega System Limited, hindering the takeoff of the Nigeria Customs Service e-custom modernization project. The House are aware that the Central Bank Technical Committee on Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme had agreement with Adani Mega System to engage the latter as service provider / vendor for screening service infrastructure for the inspection of all inbound and outbound cargo in Nigeria. Also aware that Central Bank of Nigeria, in the said letter of engagement dated 16 February 2017, also stated its statutory mandate to manage and supervise the project as provided in section 13.1, 15.1, and 5 of Pre-Shipment Inspection of Export Act and Pre-Shipment Inspection of Import Act. Further aware that a build, operate, and own agreement between the Technical Committee on Customs on behalf of the Federal Government of Nigeria and Adani Mega System in relation to the provision of the scanning services infrastructures, that is scanners, required for all operations was sealed, and a certificate of no objection was granted by BPP after evaluating the profile of the company, which is Adani Mega System. Concerned that the level of engagement had reached the turning point whereby Adani Mega System had procured all necessary equipment to commence the e-custom project as provided for in contract, but since July 13, 2017, the project has stalled without solution in sight, further causing tremendous revenue loss to the federal government, which, according to the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, had earlier appraised the potential of this system yielding up to 176 billion over the course of 20-year concession period. Also concerned that the moment Nigeria Customs Service, at the moment, they still remain in the analog era of conducting 100% physical examination, which in itself is a major cause of congestion at our ports and greater loss of revenue to our dear country. Worried that dispute between these two parties is at such a time of alarming rate of detected arms and for 3.9 trillion for debt servicing alone. And this aside repayment of principal, only the debt servicing. If the e-custom is allowed to take off by settling the issue between the federal government of Nigeria and Adani Mega System Limited, the issue of borrowing will be reduced to the barest minimum, if not eradicated. Because the Nigeria Customs Service will be able to generate twice, if not thrice, of what they currently being generated. Despite all these obstacles, there is possibility that Nigeria Customs Service in this 2021 will generate over 2 trillion naira. Further notes that for the interest of the country and to reduce country's debt profile, the lingering crisis between the federal government through the Central Bank Technical Committee on CISS and Adani Mega System Limited need to be urgently resolved. The House resolved to mandate the House Committee on Customs and Excise, Committee on Finance, Banking and Currency to invite the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, the Chairman, CBN Technical Committee on CISS, the Minister of Finance, the Controller General of Customs Service, and the Managing Director of Adani Mega System Limited in order to resolve the matter for the takeoff of the project and report to the House in 4 weeks. I so move. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Thank you so much.
Honorable Benny Bakwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Ben Roland Igbakwa. I represent Ethiop East, Ethiop West, by the special grace of God from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion, ably moved by my brother, my chairman of Custom. I beg to second.
So, Honorable Leke, so this basically has to do with the revenue generation, enhancement of our invariably. Okay, well, just put the question. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk, please make sure you generate a letter conveying the resolution of the House to, I believe, what was your prayer?
Thank you, Your Excellency. Mr. Speaker, the prayer is mandate the House Committee on Customs and Excise, Finance, that is Committee on Finance, Banking and Currency, to invite the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, the Chairman, CBN Technical Committee on CISS, that is Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme, the Minister of Finance, the Controller General of Customs, and the Managing Director of Adani Mega System in order to resolve the matter for the takeoff of the project and report to the House in 4 weeks.
Okay, then I think this has to be done quickly because it requires funding for us to effect this.
Exactly, sir.
So
this will reduce our borrowing and even the security aspect, which is more important.
Let's quickly effect this resolution immediately, please, since we're in the budget season. Thank you. Honorable colleagues, we're in the budget season. The Committee on Poverty Alleviation unfortunately lost its deputy chairman some time ago. Very expensive. It will be replaced by Honorable Chinedu Oga. Honorable Chinedu Oga. The first order of the, no, sorry, honorable members, the business of the day is presentation of 4 bills, and I invite the clerk to read their short title.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Merchant Shipping Act Repeal and Enactment Bill 2021, first reading. Legal Practitioners Act Repeal and Enactment Bill 2021, first reading. Federal University of Health Science and Technology Care Establishment Bill 2021, first reading. Federal College of Nursing, Midwifery and Health Science, Isi Alamba, Imo State Establishment Bill 2021, first reading.
So, Honorable Ben Carlos, since you are representing the, oh, yeah, yeah, lucky. I was about to fire a question at you that I knew you wouldn't be able to answer. I just saw that the chairman is already here. Hi. Chairman, can you excuse us for a minute? Let Ben come back there for a minute. Let him continue to act. Ben, go back there. Act as deputy, as the leader of the House. So, Honorable Ben, we have debates today on the budget. How come the other paper is so loaded? And when do we intend to get to the issue of debate? Why did you load the other paper like this?
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I remain Benjamin Okezekalo, sitting in for the chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, due to COVID, a lot of issues that we needed to take care of were extended. Because of such extension, it has, rolled into the period for our budget consideration. The nation will not stop functioning because we are doing budget. Therefore, in the wisdom of the House, of the committee, we decided to include very few. Mr. Speaker, what you are seeing on this document, there are very few considered compared to what we already have. It took us pain.
It's all right. It's okay. All right. Chairman, you want to remain there or let him just be permanent? You want to remain there? Ben, you can go back to your seat. Chairman. So we'll go straight to I guess they are just third readings. The leader is not here, neither is the deputy leader. I think Ben can handle that. The first order of the day is the third reading of a bill for an act to amend the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Bauchi Act, Cap 1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, standing in the name of the House leader. Honorable members will recall that the House adopted the report of the Committee of the Whole on the bill Wednesday, 6th October 2021. I therefore call on the leader of the House to move that the bill be now read the third time. The leader is in Kaduna, Kano right now, so, oh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Benjamin Okezekalo. I represent the good people of Nigeria, starting from Ben, the federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, today, because the leader is busy on national assignment, I am standing in for him.
Honorable Ben, please take that microphone. Keep away from the deputy speaker.
Okay.
Proximity is you're too close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I understand you also just came back to the country.
Yeah, I've finished my isolation.
Huh?
Yes, I did my isolation, Mr. Speaker.
You did your isolation.
Fully.
Better safe than sorry, so use that mic.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm standing in for the leader of the House, who is currently busy with national assignment, and I stand to move that a bill for an act to amend the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Bauchi Act, Cat A1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the related matters, and for related matters, HB 924 be read the third time. I so move.
Can you very quickly just go through the second, third, fourth, all the third readings, and just we'll take them all together?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to move that the bill for an act to amend the Osman Danfodio University Sokoto Act Cap U14, Law of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, House Bill 925 be read the third time. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, in that same vein, I rise to move that the bill for an act to amend the University of Maiduguri Act Cap U10, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, House Bill 926 be read the third time. Honorable colleagues, I rise to move that the bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission to serve as a catalyst to develop the commercial potentials of the Southeast, receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation for the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reparation for houses and lost businesses of victims of the Civil War, and address any other environmental or developmental challenges, and for related matters, be read the third time. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I also rise to move for a bill for an act to establish Southwest Development Commission charged with responsibility, among others, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account, including donations and gifts for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region, and the need to tackle the ecological problems and other related environmental or developmental challenges in Southwest states, and for related matters, House Bill 597 to be read the third time. I so move.
Honorable JJ Jimo, can you second that the 5 bills for third reading, can you second the motion that they be read a third time?
Saint Lagos Mainland Federal Constituency and from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, I stand to second the motion as moved by the acting leader in the order paper of today, the bills item 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so second. Thank you.
Thank you. Those in favor that the 5 bills for third read be read a third time, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. The bills read third time and passed. Sorry, long title of the bills. Clerk.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Bauchi Act, Cap A1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Usman Danfodio University Sokoto Act, Cap U14, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, third reading. A bill for an act to amend the University of Maiduguri Act, Cap U10, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, third reading. A bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission to serve as a catalyst to develop the commercial potentials of the Southeast, receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation for the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reparation for houses and lost businesses of victims of the Civil War, and address any other environmental or developmental challenges, and for related matters, third reading. A bill for an act to establish Southwest Development Commission, charged with responsibility, among others, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of the Federation account, including donations and gifts, and the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region, and the need to tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the Southwest states, and for related matters, third reading.
Okay, all bills read third time and passed. Honorable colleagues, I'm going to skip to the 8th order of the day before we come back to the budget debate, because our member has to Honorable Wadcom has to leave the chambers for an important assignment. So the 8th order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to establish the North Central Development Commission, charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of the communal crisis, as well as tackle the ecological problems and other related environment or development charges in the North Central states, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Simon G. Wadcom. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 4th July 2019, and I invite Honorable Wadcom to move that the bill be now read a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, before I can read this bill for the third time, let me appreciate Mr. Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, the minority leadership, and honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, I recall on the 7th of May, I was involved in a ghastly auto accident, which led me to have been out of the chambers for quite some time now. I had fractures on my 2 legs, my backbone, and my chest. Yeah, moving for second reading. Yes. And today, Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate you and the Deputy Speaker and to all colleagues for praying for me. I am here on my feet today, though not strong. I want to believe that you will still do more to make me as strong as the Deputy Speaker and yourself, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I understand they are still recuperating in some parts of your. So I just want to know if you're more comfortable, you can take your seat while you.
I can stand.
You can. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. This is a bill for an act to establish the North Central Development Commission, charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account to the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other
Chief Whip, what happened?
Infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of the communal crisis, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the North Central states, and for related matters, HB 3, second reading, Mr. Speaker.
Is there anybody here who's not from North Central? Honorable Johnson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I remain Johnson Ogwagidi-Oguma. I represent Itako Federal Constituency. I'm from Edo State. I rise to second the motion for the second reading of the bill by my colleague, Honorable Simon Wakwa. That is, bill be read second time. Also second.
Does anybody want to speak against the North Central Development? Anybody from Kogi? Speak against? Anybody from Kwara to speak against? Anybody from Plateau? DS, you want to speak against this bill? Niger, okay, so is unanimous. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. So we go back to Honorable John Deere. You said you are, okay, no, you have to read the long term. Yeah, sorry. Honorable John Deere, 1 minute. Clerk.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish North Central Development Commission, charged with responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of the communal crisis, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the North Central states, and for related matters. Second reading.
Honorable John Jay.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, Honorable John D. Boko Taka for the constituency, Plenary State. I'm standing in for Right Honorable Safana, Chairman, Aids and Loans, who is unavoidably absent. I'm a member of the committee. The Right Honorable Speaker has been appropriately briefed on this matter. Due to the importance of this report, we have a report here to lay. Due to the importance of the report, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I crave the indulgence of the House to please suspend the relevant rules, even though the report is not presently on the order paper, to suspend the rule and allow me to lay the report on behalf of the committee. I so move, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues.
Yes, Honorable Safana called me, I think he's out of the country.
Is that right?
And he said you'll be laying the report. The chairman, Business and Rules, has just informed me that the supplementary order paper is on the way, but we can also go through this route, because I didn't know the supplementary order paper was on the way. Honorable Lado, did you want to second that?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Abubakar Lado Suleja is my name. I'm representing Suleja Gurarataba Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from the Power State, Niger. I stand to second the motion as moved by my honorable colleague. I so second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable John Jay, you may lay your report. Thank you. Honorable colleagues, we skipped the referral of the North Central Development Commission. So that bill is referred to the Committee of the Whole. The sixth order of the day is resumption of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 16,391,023,917,692 naira only, of which 768,276,616,043 naira only is for statutory transfers, 3,901,952,981,550 naira only is for debt service, 6,829,015,483,446 naira only is for recurrent, non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 4,891,000,000 778,836,654 naira only is for contribution to the Development Fund for Capital Expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2022. Standing in the name of the House Leader, today is the second allotted day. I now invite the Leader to move that the debate on the bill do resume. One second. Honorable Ben, just one second. We'll come back to you. It's just been pointed out to me that we have an item which I think we should take before we go to the budget debate. Developmental Commission charged with responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account and international donor for the settlement, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of roads, houses, and business premises destroyed by multinational crisis, as well as tackling menace of poverty, literacy level, ecological problems, and any other related environmental or development of charges in the Northwest, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Aminu Suleiman and 78 others. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 8 July 2021, and I invite Honorable Suleiman to move that the bill be read a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Aminu is not on the floor. As a co-sponsor of this bill, he has asked me to take the bill on his behalf. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Hassan Fulata. I represent Beniwa, Krika Samba, Guli Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to move that a bill for an act to establish Northwest Development Commission charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account and international donors for settlement, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of roads, houses, businesses, premises destroyed by multinational crises, as well as tackling menace of poverty, literacy level, ecological problems, and any other related environmental or developmental challenge in the Northwest states. And for related matters, House Bill 710. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Larry Edun, please second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Representative Edun Lanriwaju, representing all the people of Abeokuta South Federal Constituency. I rise to second the bill for an act as ably moved by the honorable member. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Those in support of the bill, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish Northwest Development Commission charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account and international donors for the settlement, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of roads, houses, and business premises destroyed by the multinational crisis, as well as tackling menace of poverty, literacy level, ecological problems, and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the Northwest states, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee of the Whole. Honorable colleagues, I almost forgot the most important bill on the order paper for today. The seventh order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to make provisions for the retirement age for staff of legislative houses in Nigeria and for related matters, stand in the name of Honorable Mohammed Tahir Mongonu. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 30th June 2021. And I invite Honorable Mongonu to move that the bill be read a second time.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohammed Tahir Mongonu. I represent Marte Mongonu, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move that a bill for an act to make provisions for the retirement age for staff of legislative houses in Nigeria and for related matters, House Bill 1473, be read the second time. I so move.
Anujaga.
Honorable Speaker, my dear honorable colleagues, I am Mohammed Umar Jega, representing Aliru Gondu Jega Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion, heavily moved by the Chief Whip of the House. I so second.
This is clear enough. Those in favor, please say aye. Oh, you wanted to say something? No? Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Ben Kal, please, okay, the long title.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to make provisions for the retirement age for staff of legislative houses in Nigeria and for related matters. Second reading.
The bill is referred to the Committee of the Whole. Honorable Ben, please move that we resume debate on the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Benjamin Okezie Carlo. I represent the good people of Nigeria, starting from Ben, the Federal Constituency, and from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, today is a unique day that I'm asked to act on behalf of the Leader of the House, who is on a national assignment. And on his behalf, I want to move a motion for the resumption of debate on the second allotted day on a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the total sum of 16,391,917,692 naira only, of which 768,276,616,043 naira only is for statutory transfer. 3,901,952,981,550 naira only is for debt services. 6,829,483,446 naira only for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 4,891,778,836,654 naira only is for contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2022 as House Bill 1632, which was referred on the 7th of the 10th of 2021. I so move that we commence debate on this bill.
Thank you. Any seconder? Honorable Zana. Honorable Zana, please second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Speaker, by the...
I knew it was wrong to put Ben in the front row.
Sorry, sir.
I rise to second the motion. A bill ably moved by the acting leader of the House.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Banikoro.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague, clerk, pressmen, I'm Representative Ibrahim Babajide Obanikoro. I represent Etiosa Federal Constituency in the Center of Excellence. Mr. Speaker, Ibrahim Babajide Obanikoro is my name. I rise this morning to contribute to the budget debate, and I want to seek your permission and protection to read this brief note that I wrote to compose myself so as not to lose my sense of thought. Should I go ahead? Okay, thank you. Mr. Speaker, the budget of economic growth of sustainability of 2002 presented by the President on this floor is a laudable budget, and it seems it will live up to expectation of our people if implemented judiciously. Mr. Speaker, I say this because almost if not all ministries, agencies, and departments have increased allocations. This means we mean business. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Defense allocation of 1 trillion naira plus is commendable, especially with the level of unrest we are currently experiencing as a nation. Mr. Speaker and dear colleagues, you will agree with me that Nigerian police force are the most visible security agencies in our daily lives. Sir, you will agree with me yet again that the state of our police force can't be referred to as one of our pride and joy as a nation. One of the reasons isn't too far-fetched. The allocation of 555 billion is a far cry from what the force needs. Mr. Speaker, a visit to any of the police barracks will convince you. Mr. Speaker, I have friends who are officers at different times and have sought for assistance to purchase new uniforms, as some of them can't have and never have given new ones after they were recruited. I don't want to flog this issue too much, but I believe that the Nigerian police force can benefit from part of the 160 billion allocated to Ministry of Communications. I noticed that the capital expenses of Ministry of Communications increased by over 1,000%. This is not to reduce the importance of communication, but the Committee on Communication needs to vet this capital project. Mr. Speaker, I also see that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is underfunded. Allocation of 85 billion with today's exchange rate is only about $147 million. We have over 50 foreign missions abroad constantly complaining year on year about being underfunded. And that's one of the reasons that the services are below par, far from standard international practice. Mr. Speaker, also the Ministry of Mines and Steel is like a beautiful bride awaiting her groom. I'm not sure 23 billion naira is sufficient for ministry to pay salaries, to mine, explore across Nigeria, and carry out their activities under their purview. Ajaokuta Steel is a company said to be a game changer. When it takes off, that will increase our IGR with about $100 million and set us on the path of less borrowing. We need to look into this ministry's allocation. Speaking of borrowing, sir, I align myself with the argument that borrowing to pay salaries isn't sustainable. Mr. Speaker, you'll agree with me that the education is one of the bedrock of any nation. I think we can allocate more funds to Ministry of Education to operate with. Unity schools and federal universities are retrogressing in standard. my alma mater, King's College Lagos, is not spared. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, they say health is wealth. Without good health, all these debates won't be happening. Last year, as the year before, I stood on this floor to speak on the increment of the amount being allocated for health. Yes, a few more billions have been added to the 2002 allocation in comparison to 2021. But of course, as an Oliver that I am, I ask for more for my people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Long live Nigeria. God bless my colleagues.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abanikuro. So we'll go to, it's not only here, Naji. It's not here. Honorable Benson, not here. Honorable Raji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Wali Raji. I represent a federal constituency of Lagos State. First, I want to commend Mr. President for the timely presentation of the budget. This will definitely assist us as a parliament to work on the budget and keep our promise to Nigerians that the budget of the national budget will be passed before the end of every year during the night assembly. I noticed that in the budget speech of Mr. President, some rail transportation projects, like the Lagos-Ibadan, Abeokuta, Abuja, Kaduna, and Itape, Ajaokuta rail line projects have been completed and being put to use. This is commendable. However, Mr. President promised in the speech that the Calabar-Lagos coastal rail line, which is expected to connect the southern states of the country, will soon commence. I urge Mr. President and the relevant committee to ensure that appropriate fund is provided to ensure that these projects commence as early as possible, such that they are completed before the end of the tenure of this administration. Mr. President also spoke about the progress being made.
I think you should use your voice because some people may not understand that noise.
Okay.
No, it's the Chief Whip. Chief Whip is hitting the microphone. What he's trying to tell you, Chief Whip, just say time up when it's time. Just say
time off.
I've not started, Mr. Speaker, sir.
No, no. From yesterday, we are by our rules too. We have a 2-minute
it's all right,
time.
I've just spent 30 seconds. Thank you, sir. Okay. Now, there was also the issue of the power projects, and one important project that was provided for in the budget is the transmission line between Omotosho, Epe, and Aja. This project started since 2012, and it has remained uncompleted. I urge the Committee on Power to work with TCN to ensure speedy completion of this project because it is of economic importance to all the states that are connected by this power line. Now, one other issue that is of concern is the lamentation of Mr. President in the speech that the revenue the country's oil revenue, declined majorly due to deductions by the NNPC in recovering the cost of importation and distribution of imported petrol. I believe that this has been a cause of concern to most Nigerians, and we should scrutinize the deduction being made by NNPC to avoid revenue leakages. And finally, finally, on the issue of the exchange rate, the exchange rate, that naira to dollar, in next year's budget is put at 410.
Honorable Abonta, Honorable Namdas, Aminu Suleiman, Honorable Benjamin Kalu.
Thank you,
Benjamin,
Mr. Speaker.
It's 12:45. You will stop by 12:47.
That will be very tight, Whip. As your spokesperson and the acting leader, you should please grant me a little more. For the sacrifice I make speaking for the House, outside, I should be allowed to speak inside. Thank you. I remain Benjamin Okezie Carlo. I represent the good people of Nigeria, starting from Ben, the federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Abia State. I will break my presentation into three: recommendation, advice, and question. On recommendation or commendation, not recommendation, commendation, I really want to join the voices of those who have praised the executive, especially Mr. President, in achieving this back-to-back calendar of the budget. I also want to praise Mr. President for the implementation percentage achieved so far with regards to the Appropriation Act. It is quite impressive. And also the timely funding of capital projects, with the hope that by the end of this year, most capital projects of the MDAs will also be funded. I also want to commend Mr. President for the prioritization of capital releases in favor of ongoing projects like road, railways, agriculture, health, and education. And finally, on commendation, I want to thank Mr. President for the non-oil tax drive, which is at the moment aggregating at an impressive rate of 11%. And that means that we are gradually shifting to diversification of our economy, since we can make money from non-oil related area. On 2022 budget, I want to commend Mr. President for his commitment to the implementation of National Development Plan of 2021 to 2025, which has impacted on the budget positively. And it is a good introduction, a good energy, a good era for us to now go into National Development Plan, which used to be before now. We are happy that he's introducing that. I also want to thank Mr. President for the big amount allocated to health sector. Over 50 billion extra is very commendable. It shows that the impact of COVID and our reaction to it is impressive. I want to commend Mr. President also for the amount allocated to security. It shows that this government has a great intention. This is a display of a great intention of the government to fight the menace of insecurity. It's a display of that. The amount is commendable, though we will ask for more over time. Now also the 100% funding of the 2020 annual appropriation and the promise to repeat same in 2021 is something also that has helped us to escape recession that COVID took it into, because he funded 100% 2020, and there is the hope that 2021 he's going to repeat that. We escaped recession, and that is quite commendable. But this is my advice. My advice, which is coming from Ben, the federal constituency, those who elected me to be here, is that this particular budget should incorporate the impact of climate change, on our environment. The environmental degradation that is happening, the desertification that is happening in the north, the erosions that is happening around the southeast. This budget should be very serious about that. But I want to use this opportunity also to thank Mr. President for the ecological fund intervention in my own federal constituency, where ecological need was carrying people, flood was carrying people away in Mpa Umimenyi. Mr. President, through the Office of Ecological Fund, intervened, which shows that all this money we are borrowing, some of them are being directed to infrastructural development to the benefit of this country. My second advice is that in order for us to achieve the industrialized Nigeria that we are looking for, the intent and the purpose, the objective of setting up, privatizing this energy sector is not being achieved. Currently, this power sector that we have done privatization, they are not doing a good job.
Honorable Ben, you have already spent 4 minutes.
Yes, 2 more minutes and I'll be done, sir. Thank you. Also, I want to advise that the benchmark of $57 per barrel is too low. I am advising that we push it between 63 and 65 so that we can achieve more for the nation. Also, I'm concerned about the daily projection of production of crude, which is at 1.88 million per day. Yes, though we may agree that that is the way it's supposed to be, but let's remember that 300 to 400 million is incandescent. And NMPC need to sit up in the sense that the issue of the data saying our consumption rate is at the level that is being mentioned at 160 million per day, liters per day, is not logical. Nigerian consumption at the moment, we have been made to understand, is 60 million liters per day. When you talk about this amount of consumption and the neighboring states, when you look at Niger Republic and other neighboring countries around us, to truck 1 million liters away from Nigeria, nobody can do that in a day. So to tell us that we are spending 160 million is something that is actually very debatable. Finally, and this concerns the House. It concerns the House because the statutory transfer, as we have mentioned, there's an increase from 484.49 billion to 768.28 billion. And that is a reflection of 58% increase, 58.7 to be exact. An increase of about 283.79 billion. Do you know that this increase does not reflect on the amount that comes to National Assembly? But remember, when there was a lower aggregate, we had a budget with lower aggregate expenditure. It was reduced from 150 billion to 128 billion. Though we have the challenges of our forex and the challenges of the purchasing power of the currency, why are we remaining on 134 billion? Do you know what 134 billion represent against the percentage of the statutory transfer? Let me give you this example. In 2019, we had 125 billion given to the NAS, and that is at the level of 1.42% of the 8.83 trillion. 1.4, emphasis on 1.42%. In 2020, we had 128 billion given to National Assembly, and that was a reduction from 1.42 to 1.18% of that 10.8 trillion. In 2021, we were giving 134 billion to NAS, which now represents 0.98% of the 13.1 trillion. But this year, we are giving 134 billion again, which is now representing 0.82%. It ought not to be so. The National Assembly...
Thank you. Honorable Dennis Amadi. Adiogun Adejoro. Honorable Ben Ibakwa. Hold on, Honorable Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Amadi Dennis. I represent Udi, the Federal constituency of Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues have spoken on this current budget of about 16 trillion. But the major concern is the indices propelling this 16 trillion. when we inject such a huge budget as a country, we expect a serious multiplier on economic activities of the common man on the street. Mr. Speaker, you've seen the debt service ratio about 3.9 billion to a country of over 200 million. The balance of the budget is not enough to engineer economic activity for Nigerians, to take us out of the wood from the post-COVID era we are just trying to come out. Why I say so, Mr. Speaker, is that on formulation of the budget, which is the appropriation primarily on the Parliament, I encourage my colleagues in appropriation properly to look at the revenue side of the budget. The Chairman Custom brought up a motion earlier on custom on issue of e-collection. Bulk of the collection we are doing today are mainly on imports, on items that can be manufactured in Nigeria. As an economy, Mr. Speaker, 25% of 275 billion collected by custom in the second quarter is about 70 billion. I do not see why a country like Nigeria cannot take a policy thrust to enable the manufacturing sector, which accounts for that 70 billion or thereabouts. Mr. Speaker, these policies are what drive budget all over the world. And having said so, Mr. Speaker, it is important for you to know that such a policy measure, a radical measure to revamp the manufacturing sector of Nigeria at various strata, be it at the micro level, the midstream, at the higher level like Dangote Group and conglomerate, it will jumpstart this budget, translate into additional economic activity of about 16 trillion again. So we as a country, we are spending money. We did 11 trillion to the 2021. We are now budgeting for 16 trillion. If we don't see it manifest in the economic activity of every Nigerian on the street, it is going to affect all of us. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we look at the energy sector. Thank you, Chief Whip.
Okay.
The modular refinery we approved for the Niger Delta area for years have not been optimized. It's the same factor. We should create interventions from central bank of the government to enable people who have these refineries to take off. We cannot be bringing in petroleum products when we have graduates who can manage micro refineries, mid-term refineries, on aggregate, bring output that can serve Nigerians. This will bring a lot of savings for the country and translate to real yield to our economic growth. What I'm saying so, Mr. Speaker, that as a parliament, we to put in our people to ensure that this budget is well drilled to translate to life-saving measures to the masses on the street. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Fulata is the next. Did somebody say I'm jumping? Do you have this list with you?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Fulata, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Abubakar Hassan Fulata. I represent Buniwa, Krika Sama, Budi Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, budget 2022 is the most ambitious and largest budget in our history. However, if the budget is fully implemented, a lot of our developmental challenges will be addressed. Issues relating to security, issues relating to power, issues relating to health, education, agriculture will all be addressed. However, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my concern is the deficit and how the deficit will be funded. Now, the benchmark has been put at $57 per barrel, whereas we have a deficit of about 6 trillion. Now, if we are taking loan to address this deficit, Mr. Speaker, looking at the current situation, the reality in the market, oil is selling for $85 per barrel. And we have been putting the benchmark at 57. It's not realistic. My submission, Mr. Speaker, is that we should jack up the benchmark to 65. And reduce the borrowing. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned with the exchange rate of 410 to the dollar at the official market, whereas we have 570 in the parallel market. Mr. Speaker, this is a voodoo economics. People are mainly, capitalism flourishes on the basis of production of goods and services. Our capitalism is flourishing on the basis of currency speculation and primitive accumulation. There is no way we can develop when, if, for example, I will just approach the central bank, cooking documents, give me dollars at 410, and I go to the private market and sell at 570. This is voodoo economics. It will injure the economy, and therefore, I submit that the exchange rate should be brought closer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Uju Kingsley is not here.
I'm a Navy.
Honorable Ikena Elezianya. I don't know, Dederi. Honorable Ben Mzondo. Wait, Honorable Ben Ibakwa, you've already contributed. Oh, okay. I must have missed your name then. Go ahead, Ben Mzondo, go ahead. Then after that, Honorable.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Benjamin Bem Mzondu. I speak for the people of Makudi, Guma. Mr. Speaker, we are from Benue State. I also give voice to the teeming unemployed youths of Nigeria in this hallowed chamber. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise this morning to lend my voice on the general principle of the debate or the bill that is before the House on the 2022 appropriation budget. Mr. Speaker, briefly I want to touch on the area of the recurrent expenditure. In 2020, Nigeria appropriated about 4.9 trillion for recurrent. In 2021, 5.6 trillion was appropriated. In 2022, 6.8 trillion has been appropriated. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, if you look at this progression, it has been on the upward trend. Whereas among the several MDAs, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, there's an embargo on employment. And we must make deliberate efforts to see that this budget address the issue of unemployment in this country, which has become a major issue that spiraled down to even the issue of insecurity in our country. As we speak today, a lot of interventions that we budget for, handled by the CBN, Public Works, the NISA loans, and all other interventions, have not been able to address the issue of unemployment. It goes to say that this House must make deliberate effort to look at this issue, these stopgap issues of intervening. Today, the CBN is either a bank of industry, or is a bank of agriculture, or it has become a bank of education. It has no longer become the banker's bank. CBN is now involved in doing what education should be doing, what Minister of Agri should be doing, what Minister of Employment and Productivity is supposed to be doing. We must streamline this and become very, very disciplined with our budget process, particularly as it relates with the recurrent expenditures. Most of the MDAs, if you take a look at their budget, you don't see employment, but the budget has remained stagnant. They keep telling you promotion, leaves, and all of that. But as we speak, there is a general embargo that there should be no employment. Mr. Speaker, this House must take deliberate effort, because comparing the recurrent budget is almost the same amount of money this country will need to borrow. We must be disciplined enough to make sure that government cuts a lot of excesses in our recurrent. MDAs come, you see them every year, budget for same recurrent. You see same computers today, next year you see same computers. We don't know whether
Honorable
computers
Ben,
have
your
become
time is
paper.
off. Representative of the unemployed.
Mr. Speaker, I want to plead on behalf of the youth of this country. The rate at which this country is borrowing and servicing debt, as we speak in this budget, 3.9 trillion.
Thank you. Honorable Ben Ibakwa. Stages, I don't know why you're laughing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Ben Roland Igbakwa. I represent Ethiopia East and West by the special grace of God from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said about this budget, but I think one of the things I'll say is just to lay emphasis on the fact that the benchmark of $57 to a barrel is only to increase what we call that excess crude account, which nobody is looking at. There's need for us not to allow the excess crude account to grow once again. This is one account that never comes to Parliament, and that account is always there to take funds. They don't use it to pay our debt. So I am with my friend, my colleagues that said that we should jack it up to $65 to a barrel. Then, Mr. Speaker, from the last speaker, we have issues with the youth, which make up about 80 million Nigerians. And we have a ministry, Ministry of Science and Technology, and another one called Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. Mr. Speaker, those two ministries have not shown us any impact of their existence. First, we have raw talents all over the country. You see young men developing cars. We see young men developing drones. And none of them, these ministries are supposed to go out there and harvest these young people, harness what they have, and make sure that Nigeria is able to produce. But instead, I think for digital economy, all I know is the fact that they want to collect my data. The same data is being collected by the banks. The same data is being collected by INEC. I think for me, if I had to recommend, the Ministry of Digital Economy and Communication and Data Science and Technology, Mr. Speaker, should be brought together and merged into one so that we can reduce the cost of governance. Because this recurrent expenditure we are talking about is because of all these ministries that are doing almost the same thing. I don't know the difference between digital economy and technology. What have they been able to do? Go to the East, you'll be surprised at what young people are doing, and nobody seems to be looking at them. Instead, other countries are coming to move our young ones for training. Let us let them know if they cannot do it, bring the two of them together. Let them work as one, because I'm not feeling them, and Nigerians are not feeling them. Mr. Speaker, the issue of oversight cannot be under stress here. Because as a house, it is not going to be easy, because these ministries and agencies have a way of doing things to discourage us from doing our job. But for the interest of Nigeria, I think we have to wake up more in terms of oversight and follow them up.
Honorable Ben, your time is off.
Plus the bribe. Thank you, sir. I think I am done. I am done with all that I have to say, because a lot has been said. What I really want to say is the fact that SME is the bedrock of any national development. Let's think about how we can put infrastructures in place so that Nigerians can begin to produce, because the revenue we are talking about today are all geared towards government earning. What about the private sector? What have we done to encourage the private sector so that they can actually produce and pay their taxes and revenues will come into the country? It's not just enough to do it around us. Let us give them roads so that goods from Port Harcourt to Kaduna can move without stress. There will be electricity and people will not be running generator and diesel. There will be security and we don't need to pay policemen and soldiers to escort our people to farm. Mr. Speaker, these are the few things that I have to say so that Nigeria can move forward and you can move forward, and we thank all of us that during our time we made the changes necessary. Thank you very much.
Honorable Halims, I'd like. Honorable Satomi.
Thank you, sir.
Speaker, honorable colleagues, for the opportunity. I'm Engineer Satomi Ahmad, representing Jere Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, I'm from Borno State. I will first commend the 9th National Assembly for achieving and make it steady for the budget year, first of its kind in the history of our democracy. Mr. Speaker, the budget 2022 appropriation is a budget that Nigerians have to celebrate and commend the government of the APC. Why I say it so, Mr. Speaker, despite a lot of talks by the social media that the budget is high, I want to echo more. If you look at the global index, in fact, the budget is low looking at our needs as a nation, particularly in terms of security and economic crisis that we are facing. Mr. Speaker, the global GDP ratio that acceptable by IMF is 15%. Today, Nigeria, we are not even up to the 12% that we claim to be. If you look at the developing countries, some have 30. Even the developed country have 40% in terms of their GDP ratio, public expenditure GDP ratio. So, Mr. Speaker, I am calling on the Honorable House. This time around, we have to redouble our efforts to make sure the implementation process by the executives to awaken our oversight function to enable the ordinary Nigerians feel the impact of the budget. Since it's an assumption, and it is an interesting budget that's showing Nigeria that we are going somewhere in terms of diversification, looking at 10.3 trillion is being targeted from the revenue. And it's a great commendation to Mr. President for telling this honorable house that the e-custom, one of the critical angle of our economy, that the budget is coming from the revenue. And working towards to achieve the e-custom, we need to strengthen, to boost the morale, the capacity of the Nigerian custom to look at ways of generating more funds to the nation. Today, if you go to Lagos, you have over 7,000 containers dumped. All this is as a result of bad policy. Had it been we have a very coherent policy that will work, definitely those containers will be easily get into the country and Nigeria will earn more. And looking at this, definitely, if we're strengthening our economy, particularly looking at the diaspora, allowing those that want to bring their effects to the country, the CBN should review its policy this time around to allow people come in with their apex, take it to the bank of their choice, and while taking it, they should not be sanctioned that they must take Naira. No. Let first the funds come to the country. Once the money is there in the country, this will increase our GDP, this will boost the economy, and we will have available apex that Naira will be strong. Today is very unfortunate. Even the CFA, for first time in our history, is a challenge to the Naira. CFA is going loggerheads with the Naira. Definitely, this is a trying time to our nation. So we need to put head together, come together to see and work so that we will have a working economy to the nation that will next time, by the year coming 23, hopefully, we will proudly say that our budget will be funded by the internally generated revenue. If you look at it today, only 3-point-something trillion that is being earmarked for the oil revenue. So definitely, this is a plus to Mr. President, plus to the APC government, and for the National Assembly, particularly the 9th National Assembly of our dear nation. Mr. Speaker, lastly, I will talk on behalf of the leader of the Northeast Caucus, particularly to look at the Northeast budget, looking at the security challenges upon of the military and other formation of our defense. Today, we must look a way that we are going to involve the non-kinetic solution into the Northeast Development Commission budget. What they have is so little. The post-insurgency in the Northeast, looking at this thing is coming to an end, all as a report of the ongoing counter-insurgency operation initiated by the able leadership of Mr. President. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, we are calling upon our colleague to consider the Northeast development budget to include the non-kinetic operation so that the repentance Boko Haram, those that are surrendering, rebuilding of the dilapidated and destroyed community will be resettled back and engage them so that we'll have a free border for our nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Thank you, honorable colleagues.
I said, Honorable Gagdi, you have 30 seconds. Honorable Yusuf Gagdi, you have 30 seconds. Chief Whip, this time, Honorable Gagdi's 30 seconds.
No matter how you push me, I will not defect from APC to PDP. I remain in APC, sir.
So it remains 15 seconds.
Thank you, sir. I'm Yusuf Gagdi. I represent Kanke Kanam Federal Constituency. I'm from Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, first I thank you. I thank you for one thing, Mr. Speaker. For part of your statement that convey a message to the executive and to Mr. President that this time around, if our resolutions are not respected, we are going to respect our resolutions by ourselves, by making that message very clear to Mr. President and to the executive arm of government that we will consider the content of 2022 budget and see areas National Assembly passes resolutions that ordinarily ought to have been considered in the proposal of 2022. If they do not do that, we are going to consider adjustment to the budget in such a way that our resolution will be considered before passing to Mr. President. Mr. Speaker, that proves that you are really a people-oriented speaker who is standing firm for the people of this country. And I thank you for that clear message during the budget presentation. And why I thank you, I want to be a bit sentimental. There are a lot of federal government projects within my constituency that starts over the years. Panshin Kanke Kanam, particularly in Panshin and Kanke, where there are federal roads, but they are not being funded the way they are supposed to be. And there are resolutions, too, on this hallowed chamber regarding to two major federal government roads cut across Panshin and Kanke local government that is pending. So when considering the aspect of the resolution that ought to be considered in 2022 proposal, that will go a long way in carrying the people of Panshin Kanke Kanam Federal Constituency. But Mr. Speaker, this is a budget of growth and sustainable development. the content of the presentation of Mr. President is very apt. It's nice, it's good, but as Parliament, we must always have our however to whatever that is presented to the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, government are doing well, but why are we here? We are here to respect democratic trinity, where the President will come and present a budget, and we will scrutinize the budget and make sure it is in line with the aspiration of people of this country. And that is why I will continue to make reference with your statement during the budget presentation. Mr. Speaker, government have a lot to do, and the National Assembly too have a lot to do. That is why I say government, National Assembly inclusive. We need to conduct our oversight function, Mr. Speaker, well. By the time we do that, some of the gap that is existing in this proposal that is being put together by Mr. President and presented here will be addressed. So I urge you, Mr. Speaker, to continue to urge various committees to make sure that what needs to be done in terms of engagement with various ministries and departments of government should be allowed to take place. So that, Mr. Speaker, we will be able to check what we are supposed to check. Mr. Speaker, no matter what government achieve, I appreciate and I acknowledge the achievement of President Muhammadu Buhari. But, Mr. Speaker, whatever you achieve, without peace, there is always a problem. Mr. Speaker, we must commend Mr. President for making peace a priority in the 2022 budget. We must commend Mr. President for ensuring that peace is one of the hallmarks of 2022 budget. But again, we must ensure that that is not only presentation, but is implemented in the 2022. When you revamp the agricultural sector, when you make infrastructural facility in the four angles of Nigeria, when schools are built, when hospitals are built, without peace, Mr. Speaker, all those things will amount to nothing. So I want to encourage you and my colleagues on the floor of the House to make sure that we discharge our oversight function very well and to continue to challenge people that are in the position of authority, that the primary responsibility of Parliament is to make law for peace, order, and good governance. And the primary responsibility of government is the protection of the life and the security of its citizenry, plus making sure that the welfare of the people is being guaranteed. And until, Mr. Speaker, and unless we make this a priority and we recall those mandates donated to Parliament by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and equally discharge our duty within the powers given to us, do not hope, Mr. Speaker, that this country will achieve what Mr. President have come here to put together. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleagues for listening, but the bigger thanks is to you for giving me 30 seconds and allowing me to speak for up to 5 minutes. Thank you, and God bless you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm not the one that allowed you to speak for 5 minutes. It's the timekeeper that did not call you to order. I don't know what's between you and the chief whip. Thank you, Honorable Gagdi, for your presentation and submissions. Honorable Robert Yo is not here. John Welle. So, John Welle here. Honorable Badru. Honorable Odebumi. Olusegun. I think most members have gone away for Congress. For the Congress is coming up this weekend. Honorable Chinyere Igwe is right behind you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am Chinyere Igwe, PhD. Mr. Speaker, I represent Mr. Speaker, I represent Port Harcourt Federal Constituency 2 from the oil-rich River State. Mr. Speaker, at the point I was thinking whether you still want to shift the goalpost as you have been shifting it since. Because ordinarily, if we are a nation that obeys laws and order, you wouldn't have given my brother Ganji 30 seconds and he will speak for 5 minutes and tell it to our face. Mr. Speaker, however, that is where we find ourselves, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Is somebody trying to raise a point of order?
Okay.
Honorable Gagdi, what's your point of order?
So, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order?
Okay.
No explanation, but there are 8 rules.
Is it privilege?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, you have trampled upon my rights.
Let him say it now.
In rules of debate,
He doesn't need the section. He has told you what is coming under. There's only one section on privilege. You should know, you tell me the section. Minority leader. What's the section of privilege? What's the what is the section of privilege?
sir, no matter what you do, I will not defect from APC to PDP.
What's your how has your privilege been breached?
He's not supposed to reply me in the rule of debate, Mr. Speaker. He asks that I make statement that I am given 5 seconds to speak, and thank God, Mr. Speaker, allow me to speak for 5 minutes. And he's paraphrasing that.
Tell him to get in touch with Mr. Smart. I will meet with them quickly, but Mr. Smart has to be there. Aha. So your problem is that I told Gandhi to speak for 30 seconds and he spoke for 5 minutes.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate Mr. President for fulfilling his constitutional obligation by presenting the budget proposal of 2022 to the National Assembly as is required by our 1999 Constitution as amended. Mr. Speaker, I have a problem.
But why are you appreciating Mr. President for fulfilling his constitutional duty? Is it because there was a time when a president did not come here and sent his Minister of Finance? Is that why you are appreciating Mr. President?
Mr. Speaker, you're saying so. I'm not saying. I'm not appreciating.
No, the records are clear. The records are clear. It's not me that says so.
But Mr. Speaker, the problem of Nigerians is that this budget appears to be bogus and unreasonably unimplementable based on the financial implication, the funding. Mr. Speaker, we are borrowing. That's a matter that we have left to God to decide for us as a nation. Mr. Speaker, the issue of tax. Part of Mr. President is that we shall enhance tax and revenue through policy reforms and tax administration measures. Mr. Speaker, the question is, who are we taxing? The businesses. I'm sure that I've been in this house 2 years, going to 3 years, my tax has not been increased. But Mr. Speaker, by the time we pass this budget, the SMEs in Nigeria, their taxes will be increased. And the attendant implication of that, Mr. Speaker, is that they will run out of business and will turn the people my brother Honorable Ben is presenting into the unemployment market. So we are undergoing a vicious circle, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleague.
Time off.
Yeah, this is part of the rule. This is part of the rule, changing the rule. Mr. Speaker, I also appreciate my brother led by the Oracle, who acknowledged that the benchmark for oil is low. It's low. The APC people in this house, led by Oracle, please allow me, have the floor, have agreed that the benchmark is low. What does that imply? It means that we are funding the excess crude. What is the implication? We are we are piling up the avenue for corruption. Mr. Speaker, let me also say that our problem in this country is institutional. If we do not reform our institution, if we do not rotate our institution, if we do not professionalize our institution, we shall continue with this vicious circle. The idea of envelope system is unworkable. As a country in crisis, let us try the Marshall Plan. Ministry, department, and agency should focus on a particular product, a particular project for a particular year based on what they have been given.
I totally agree with you.
Because I know that my time will come.
Who introduced that envelope system?
Since Mongono couldn't stop me, Mr. Speaker will take over.
No, but who introduced the envelope system? I didn't think you would answer that question. Thank you, Honorable Chinyere. Thank you very much. Bagos, not here. Babangida Abdullahi, not here. Jafaru Mohammed, Sani Maruf, Chairman Police Kumo, Sam Unuigbo, Kakale, Mayowa Akifalariwa, Honorable Larry Edu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Respected colleagues, I remain Representative Edwin Lanrewaju, representing all the people of Abeokuta South Federal Constituency and from Ogun State. Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, my own contribution concerning the estimate brought in by the executive arm to this chamber is based on infrastructure. And infrastructure being a keynote in terms of resonance to economy is a vital part of development in this country. Why do I say so, Mr. Speaker and respected colleagues? If we look at the past budgets, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, we've had a situation where the progressive line of action of budgetary figures, particularly to what I want to narrow on, which is roads infrastructure, it is debatably very low. As far as I'm concerned, in 2019, 331.5 billion was allocated to road infrastructure. In 2020, 243.1 billion. That's a downward trend. Luckily, executive arm went back again up in 2021 to 404. And unfortunately, this year, that you had a budget of 16 trillion, the executive arm comes up with a figure of 393.5 billion, which is less than 20% of the budget. And as of last year, they had a budget of 13 trillion. We had a figure of 404. Therefore, I want to plead, Mr. Speaker and respected colleagues, that by the virtue of power vested in this chamber, it is the authority to underwrite the estimate of the executive. If we have to do something to the economy of this country, in terms of the informal and informal sector, if you don't have good roads, there is nothing we can do about it. Virtually everybody here in his respective constituency had problems in terms of budgetary, insecurity, and so on and so forth. These things are due to bad roads. And what we have here is less than 20% of 16 trillion naira budget. Therefore, I want to plead that this could be ceded to a situation whereby a family who just gotten married had a budget for groceries, man and wife.
So you are talking about roads?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you are the deputy chairman?
Works, sir.
Works.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that members have issues with your ministry?
Why, sir, Mr. Speaker?
You are not aware?
We are aware, but I want to know so many issues.
And they are now still making a case.
Yes, sir. So many issues with the ministry.
What have you done about the issues members have with your ministry?
The issues, so many issues with the ministry. That's why I want you to
So
narrow
if there are
down
issues with ministry that even affect members' projects, why are you advocating more allocation to the ministry?
Yes, we have to allocate more to the ministry because what we have as we speak today and the certification in the ministry, if you have to prorate it, is 1/15, Mr. Speaker. So if you had a condition where we have 1/15 in ratio of what the executive brought to legislature, then there is need for this House to underwrite this estimate and go up, if possible, with about
My
90%.
question to you is that what was already there in the last budget, what has the ministry done with it?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. What happened was that before 2020, the certification they had cleared is higher than what they brought in 2019. So they had a problem of deficit. So if you brought in another one now, less than what you brought last year, what are we doing? It's inversely proportional. Therefore, you're creating more problems. And that's why I'm pleading that on behalf of Ministry of Works, and standing in here as Deputy Chairman Works, please, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, let us underwrite this estimate and jack up the budget of Ministry of Works. I so submit, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I understand what you have said. I intentionally made that point. And we'll meet with your minister too on what happened to projects that were put in the ministry for development of roads. Yeah, FEMA and works, yeah, I agree. Honorable Johnson Oguma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Johnson Oguma. I represent Isako Federal Constituency. I am from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate you for this opportunity to make my own contribution to this debate. A lot has been said about the bill. I do not intend to repeat so many of them, but that I will paraphrase. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by talking about deficit budgeting. Deficit budgeting is not an alien thing to economic policy. It's part of economic planning policy when there's drought and when there's shortfall. But my area of worry is the importance on how it is funded. Funding deficit is not mainly and solely on borrowing, whether locally or internationally. To finance deficit, that is why there is a provision for savings. I am appealing to the executive and the government of Nigeria to please, there's need now for us to develop the spirit of saving. Because if we consider the MTF, they approve 57 per barrel, the excess of not flowing with the actual is because the difference was originally or initially meant for savings, so that in the time of drought, when there is shortfall, we have where to fall back to. So, in the time of excess, it is reasonable for a father or even a nation to keep some for when there is a shortfall. Even in the Holy Bible, when you talk about the Bible and even the Quran, I don't know what the Islam called Joseph. Joseph was a prime minister in Israel. There was a time when there was surplus and there was anticipated 7 years of drought. Because of the wisdom that God has given to him as a leader, he made savings for the rainy day. When hunger came, Joseph released the one that was saved just to save a nation. The essence of governance is for us to plan for the life of the people that are citizens of the population. That when there is scarcity, When they run to leadership, our duty is to fall back to something. As parents, no father will eat up all his income, and where there is sickness, expect to see go to the same bank that he has exhausted. And that is one. And unfortunately, we detest and hate savings. Also, the idea behind the strategic revenue generating initiative, it is very good, and I support it because it will encourage diversification of revenue sources. I support it. The other area is the approved exchange naira rate. The exchange rate of your local currency determine your purchasing power internationally. A nation that will not save cannot invest. It's only through savings that you can have something to invest for future. The exchange rate in 2020 was at 305 official. We came here, we argued. I was bitter, but yet it was moved to 360, which was the black market rate. And that was the year when there was no production and there was no import. Everywhere was locked down. And it has become a routine for us to be devaluing naira in every budget year. It is not right. Anytime we visit the naira and bastardize it, we are creating more problem for ourselves. I know as many as you have of economics, so there are different ideas. But I am only advising. Also,
environment, your time is off.
Please, let me round up. I'm running up now. The CBN governor, each time we approach him, we talk about the forces of demand and supply. How can an imperfect market, that the rate is managed, you will not talk about forces of demand and supply? It does not work. The earlier we manage our currency well, the better for us. And also too, for him to have gone to the air to see that there is an organization registered outside Nigeria manipulating our exchange rate is to say the least. Mr. Speaker, my own is an advice, and I am saying everything should be properly managed for the benefit of Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ali Mustafa.
Thank you very much. Right, Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues, I'm Architect Ibrahim Al-Mustafa Aliyu, representing Wurno-Raba, Federal Constituency from Sokoto State. With the Speaker, I want to align myself with the positive submissions made by my colleagues, and I want to briefly talk on three broad sections as far as the 2022 budget presentation by Mr. President is concerned. Number one, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to commend Mr. President and the leadership of the National Assembly and all honorable members for, being what they have been, being prompt, and turning the budget line of January to December. Mr. President and the executive have been up and doing ensuring that there is 100% implementation of the previous budget. That is very commendable. In fact, when Mr. President was making his submission, members were very attentive, and you can see the clamor. They are going around with a lot of applauses, endorsing Mr. President's speech. On the second note, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want to talk briefly on the budget deficit. The budget deficit of about 6 trillion in the 2022 budget. Even though allowed, we have seen greater nations like the United States, France, and whatever that have seen the circulation made that are well indebted. If borrowing is to finance development, so be it. Nigeria is struggling to stand on its toes, and we thank God with the good leadership and the sincerity of the leadership under Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, we are able to pass through the COVID-19 pandemic, even though there are certain consequences, inflation rate and whatever. So what I'm saying in a nutshell, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we should be looking forward to 2023 budget that will be deficit-free, if possible. We have to look inward in terms of revenue generation, internally revenue generation. So few Nigerians are paying taxes. We all know that. Why? If countries like Tanzania will place their value-added tax at 18%, I don't see any reason why Nigeria will lag behind. We have to look inward to see that we are able to source enough revenue to finance our budget rather than borrowing. A lot of talks have been going on, people condemning, but I think to a certain extent, the previous speakers have done justice to that topic. I don't want to go into it. Borrowing is allowed if it's geared towards bringing development. Mr. Speaker, the third issue is the issue of resolution. You know, this Honorable House has been passing resolution to the executive with a view to, bring in development back to their constituencies. These are genuine issues that the House finds very important and resolved. But we don't know, maybe without following up to all those resolutions, they are just archived. So the executive needs to do more in seeing that the resolution of the Honorable House are taken seriously and they reflect in the budget. I want to give an example that has to do with me. In July 2019, I moved a motion here about the construction of Rabah.
Honorable Architect, your time is off, Architect.
I moved a motion about the need to construct Rabah Junction to Bakura Junction Road, which is about 81 kilometers, constructed 37 years ago, housing about 47 communities. That road was so badly dilapidated that it's no longer motorable. The House resolved that road should be included in the 2020 budget. That 2020 budget passed without road reflecting. 2022 budget now, the 2020-2021 passed without that project included in the budget. So even the 2022, I followed up to the extent of meeting the minister, but I was unlucky. When I went there, they have already submitted their budget proposal. So meaning that those people will still remain where they are and how they are, under extreme suffering, even in 2022, if care is not taken. So I want to echo the position of Honorable Gagdi, that the resolution of the National Assembly, of the House of Representatives particularly, should be taken into consideration seriously by executive while preparing their budget. On the same lane, I want to talk about the budget, the defense budget. I've gone through the proposal.
Oh, okay. Is that why you're... I think your time is up, Oliver. Chief Whip, was that the sign you were giving? Okay. Diaz, can you please...
Honorable James.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Idem Unyime, member representing Ukanafun, Rowodan Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon to first and foremost commend Mr. President for the timely presentation of the budgets. And also, I would like to commend my colleagues talking about the members of the two chambers of National Assembly for working tirelessly last year to ensure that 2021 budget was passed within stipulated time. This is very commendable, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have concern in two areas as far as 2022 budget is concerned. Number one is that when you look at the level of deficit that we have, to breach, in the budgets, and then based on the little experience that I had with the just concluded NTEV session, I discovered that this country has wasted a lot of resources. I think it's high time the agencies should really sit down to work to generate a lot of revenues, knowing that we have a lot of problems. A situation where agencies within government, as in departments within the government, are still owing the government huge amounts of money, billions, billions of naira. And you ask them, what is responsible for this kind of huge debt within the system? And they cannot explain. Some of them are owing, as far as 5 years. You ask them, does it mean that you have not collected this revenue from the generating sources? They say they have collected, but they can't explain. The only reason they will give you is that I was just appointed 6 months ago. I wasn't the last Director General. I was just appointed 3 months ago. I wasn't the last Executive Secretary. So I think I would like to use this opportunity to urge my colleagues to really beam their searchlight on agencies. If this kind of budget deficit that is so huge must be breached so that we'll be able to implement it accordingly. So agencies must rise up to work and generate revenue to meet up the gap. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to also talk about the issue of slow pace of budget implementation. I don't know about my other colleagues that are seated here, but from the feedback that I got from, a lot of constituencies, I discovered that up till now, budget implementation is not up to 60%. I mean what they have implemented. I'm not talking about release. I mean budget implementation is not up to 60% as we speak. So I don't know why agencies will want to wait until they get 100% release before they start implementation. I think it's better for them to implement in stages. Whatever they get from Ministry of Finance, they begin implementation, because the essence of timely budget passage is to stimulate economy. But a situation where money will be released and then they keep it for 8-9 months before they commence implementation, I think that negates the essence of the speech that we put in to ensure that this budget is passed within the shortest possible time. So this is the few things that I've observed in the previous budget that we passed. I think if we must do well in 2022, these areas need to be looked into.
Your time is off.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I so submit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Bagos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I'm Dachi Musa Bagos, representing the good, great people of Jos South, Jos East Federal Constituency, from the peaceful state of Plateau. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, so that I wouldn't fall the wrath of the Chief Whip, I will avoid the commendation part and go straight to my areas of concern. That what we have had so far in the various years, especially part of our budget, has always been addressing the issue of recurrent. We have had recurrent and the debt servicing. We have not yet addressed the issue of foreign direct investment, if truly we want to be called the giants of Africa. Look at countries like Rwanda today. They are now calling themselves the heart of Africa because of the foreign direct investment as a result of the business climate areas. So my concern and calling of honorable colleagues is that let's look at the budget extensively. What are those areas that we can make our budget to be an industrialized budget, so that when we start talking of industrialization, we start looking at opening the economy. But when we cage ourselves to recurrent and only debt servicing, then foreign direct investment will be a problem to us, and we will continue the same cycle. And again, talking of having a clear and a clean business environment, corruption is one of the areas that we have been talking about. And again, when we look at the budget, we have not given the anti-corruption agencies an adequate budget to really do its own work. So I will still call on our honorable colleagues. Let's look at the anti-corruption agencies. Let's look at the clean business environment. Let's ensure that whatsoever we are giving to various MDAs has some certain elements of foreign direct investment in their own exercises. And our foreign ministries is not just about going to embassies and so. What are those embassies doing in each and every mission? What are those foreign direct investments that our embassies have been able to attract as a result of the budgets that we have given them? But when you look at the foreign affairs, it's just to travel to missions and come back. But I expect that our budget should start looking at having a clean business environment that will attract investors. And when we start attracting investors, we'll have an industrialized nation. But because of the population explosion we are having, if we don't start looking at industrializing Nigeria, then we'll have more problems in near future to come. I've never seen in the US Congress or the press talking about awarding, the White House talking about awarding road contracts. Let's start looking at how can foreign investors concession to look at our roads and look at others. Then the government will now concentrate on addressing the issue of insecurity. Once government address the issue of insecurity, we have a lot of foreign investors that will come into the country to take up and to address most of these issues. My Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, mine is let's look at how our budget will subsequently address the issue of foreign direct investment instead of recurrent and debt service. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Maybe we'll look at those infrastructures, those particularly that you mentioned, since American government don't do that, and maybe we'll start from their own constituency to expunge them from the budget. Insecurity is one, but infrastructure needs another. You can't address the insecurity problem if you do not have a good road network. It's very important. Thank you. Honorable Jiba, Micah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleague, I remain Honorable Mika Johanna Jiba, a member representing the good people of Amak Ambwari Federal Constituency, FCT. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Abuja. Mr. Speaker, I still want to remind you that I still remain landlord by the special grace of God. Mr. Speaker, it is my honor to be part of this moment in the history and to contribute
in the 2022 fiscal estimate presented by Mr. President on the floor of this chamber. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend Mr. President for the prompt submission and to also commend the board executive and the legislature over the reversal and the maintaining of budget calendar from January 1st to December 31st annually. My honorable colleagues, even though we belong to different political parties, Nigeria budget is a general interest duty that requires our expertise and positive contribution for every region of the Federation. I therefore appeal to this House to give a diverse speed attention to start the incoming year on the sound footing. Mr. Speaker, we must look at the area that need improvement, which may have been contrary to the general interest of society. We must remove politics from personal interests by laying solid foundation to our national development through the budgeting process. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleague, no doubt Mr. President has a wonderful policy, but somehow the MDs have not been pushed the vision to the latter. Therefore, I wish to urge the various executive agencies to help Mr. President by faithfully doing their jobs to stir hope and revive the declining trust people have today. I must emphasize, Mr. Speaker, that the masses look upon us for meaningful improvement to their social life, especially starting from the 2022 fiscal document. The time is now. It is late than never. The masses are watching impatiently. On a special note, honorable colleague, permit me to quickly remark on the home for every Nigeria, that is FCT. Public facility in Abuja, such as good road, potable water, and security has been overstretched due to daily influence of people in the capital city. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleague, as I always say, the population of Federal Capital Territory is not by birth, it's by influence of people. People come to Federal Capital Territory every day, every month, and every year. Therefore, I wish to employ every member to support proposals connected to the FCT development for our collective goods, whatever affect the people here, affected all of us. Secondly, I shall also appreciate your support for more physical allocation to FCT.
Landlord, your time is off. Landlord, your time is off.
1 minute, sir. Who provide grassroots services, such as erosion control, agricultural services, construction and renovation of public schools, among others. Mr. Speaker, perhaps more urgently is their need to road expansion and collection of abandoned projects. There is therefore the need to highlight on their completion. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Michael, I think your time is up. You should respect the
1 minute, sir.
No, please, I beg of you. We have other items on the other paper, and I beg of you to respect the time.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr.
Thank
Speaker,
you very much. Honorable Gudaji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly respected colleagues, I remain Honorable Mohammed Gudaji Kazauri, member representing Kazauri, Roni, Gwiwa, and Enkwashi. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, first things I will say in this 2022 budget, I commend and I salute Mr. President seriously, Mr. President, break history in this country in terms of budget implementation. Because we can witness 2022 and this 2021 that is ongoing is implemented 100%, which since I joined politics, I never see 100% implementation. But my observation, Mr. Speaker, in this budget is, first of all, in the health. When you look at the budget and calculate well, you will see that it's 2.7% put in the health and 3.7 in education. Seriously, these two places need a good money because Mr. President said on this floor when he is presenting budget that this is the last budget to be implemented by this administration. So in education and the health, seriously, we need to put more money so that we can upgrade all our health sectors. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, in terms of unemployment, we have to put at least out of that 16 trillion, 1 trillion supposed to go for employment. Unemployment youth, 1 trillion. And it's supposed to be every year, 1 trillion will go for employment. I am sure if we do that, we will eradicate unemployment gradually in this country. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, we have to fear God and go for oversight. Members, we have to go straighten oversight because playing with the oversight is the thing that make MDS to do whatever they want. Most of the MDS are playing for implementation after the president has released 100% money. I surprised when I see some project is not implemented. And I heard that president approved 100% release. So seriously, if we put eye on MDS, the grassroots will enjoy the dividend of democracy. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, look at the debt service. The debt service, Mr. Speaker, last year is 2-point-something, this year is 3-point-something trillion. We're supposed to straighten our anti-corruption war. I am sure, Mr. Speaker, if we go in a serious investigation and created strong interrogation team, we will recover money that we will implement 10 years budget in this country. Because we cannot put eye on people in the previous government looted money. They are enjoying money inside the air condition and eating chicken. And we are borrowing money to implement budget, Mr. Speaker. Seriously, there is failure. Let this government, and I am advising this house and the federal government to straighten the anti-corruption, because I can see a government official working inside the government, sleeping inside the 2-3 billion house. And Mr. Speaker, we say we are fighting corruption. I am sure if we put eye well and investigate and do interrogation camp within the 6th geopolitical zone, like in the east, we do a strong interrogation camp in Zambia. Whoever been arrested will go there. He will tell you where he buried the dollar. Because people bury the dollar like a dead body in this country, Mr. Speaker. That is why dollar is scarce. That is why dollar is scarce. And when we go deep, Mr. Speaker, seriously into this investigation, you will surprise the dollar you will see. We will implement 10 years budget.
without borrowing any kobo. Because this country, Mr. Speaker, we are blessed. In the previous government, look at $148 per barrel. That is how we sell it. Where is that money? Designing alone go with $65 billion. And he is living inside the air conditioning in London. Mr. Speaker, how can we say we are fighting corruption? So seriously, Mr. Speaker, this borrowing, if Mr. President will put red eye on the anti-corruption agencies, and I am advising Mr. President to put his glass, not white glass, black glass, on this anti-corruption agency, to do a strong investigation where our leakages, money that go like money in the public servant, Mr. Speaker, if you surprised. So seriously, Mr. Speaker, that is why we are suffering, because we came to the government without money. And we find the crude oil price has gone down. While the crude oil has gone down, Mr. Speaker, we find the crude oil has already gone down. And we no money to implement budget. That is why we are borrowing. But why? Where is the money we get before we come to the government? When the petrol crude oil is reasonable price, with a reasonable price in the market. Where are the money? For almost 5 to 6 years, we are selling 2.something million barrel times $148, Mr. Speaker. And my last advice is there is issue of farmers. All these bushes you see in this country, Mr. Speaker, that is occupied by criminals now. We're supposed to clear that bush, introduce mechanized farming. This budget, let Agric take money. Let us put money to farmers and take it direct to them from Ministry of Agric, direct to the farmers. Mr. Speaker, I am sure if we do this, we will, by next year, maybe we will forget what is called oil revenue. Through farming, we can get money that we can implement budget, and we will not rely on the oil, because oil has gone. Development has come in the, look at some countries, even yesterday, Mr. Speaker.
But this is Chief is not willing to ask you to.
Okay, good. Your time is off.
No, Mr. Speaker, Chief Whip is enjoying what I am saying. Seriously, because I am telling the truth, Mr. Speaker. That is the reality. That is the reality, Mr. Speaker. I am telling the truth. And seriously, Mr. Speaker, if we clear that places and put money in the farming, we will eradicate unemployment. We will allocate all these hectares to our team unemployment youth, and the majority of our people will go for farming, different varieties of farming in the different our geopolitical zone. At last, we will reduce the rely on oil. Seriously, reduce the rely on oil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
But Honorable Gudaji, when you're advocating that we should take money directly to the farmers, what about the procedures and then other extant laws that are there in place for the organizations that we think should be implementing? Thank you, Gudaji. Respected colleagues, the turn order of the day is consideration of a bill for an act to establish a national biotechnology development agency to carry out research, create, development, popular awareness in biotechnology in order to encourage a private sector participation in biotechnology industry in Nigeria and for related matters. Honorable members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, 13 November 2019. Honorable Dachung M. Bagos will move for his consideration. Thank you. I was in a haste. Colleagues, I want to thank you for your contribution, your input, praying that all the various contribution that have come in to strengthen the budget will be taken into consideration as we move into the committee system for consideration of the budget. Particular emphasis has been mentioned over and over regarding oversight. And I want to believe, as we are breaking for 2 weeks, we should use the opportunity to utilize that window to carry out our oversight efficiently and effectively. Leader, can you move for the second reading of the bill that have just been considered? No, that's to move for debate. Debate. For debate, sir. Yes, sir. Before we commit the bill to the committee on appropriation, that movement for motion or motion has to be moved for the second reading, which the clerk will read long title before the gavel now will go for the committee to act.
Mr. Speaker, if I can come in, all the debate is part of the second reading. That's all. Just put the question. Put the question. The motion has already been put. Just put the question that the bill be read second time.
Thank you. The question now, the bill be read second time. Those in favor say aye. Against say nay. That's have it. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, the total sum of 16 trillion, 391 billion, 23 million, 917,692 naira only, of which 768 billion, 276 million, 616,043 naira only is for statutory transfers. 3 trillion, 901 billion, 952 million, 981,550 naira only is for debt service. 6 trillion, 829 billion, 15 million, 483,446 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 4 trillion, 891 billion, 778 million, 836,654 naira only is for contribution to the Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31 December 2022. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Appropriation with standing committees as subcommittee of the Committee on Appropriation. The Speaker calls the 10th order of the day is consideration of bill for an act to establish the National Biotechnology Development Agency to carry out research, create and develop public awareness in biotechnology in order to encourage the private sector participation in biotechnology industry in Nigeria and following matters. All members will recall the bill was committed to Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, 13 November 2019. Honorable Dachshund M. Bagos will move for its consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Dachshund Musa Bagos, representing the good great people of Jos South, Jos East Federal Constituency, from the peaceful state of Plateau. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to move for the consideration of the bill for an act to establish National Biotechnology Development Agency to carry out research, create and develop public awareness in biotechnology in order to encourage a private sector participation in biotechnology industry in Nigeria and for related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. Yes, sir. Deputy Chairman Works.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Respected colleagues, I remain Representative Edwin Lariwaju, representing all the people of Abeokuta South Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State. I rise to second the bill for the act as ably moved by my colleague, Representative Bagos. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. The next order of the day is consideration of a bill for an act to establish the Northwest Development Commission, charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of federation account and information and international donor for the settlement of the settlement, rehabilitation, and construction of roads, houses, and businesses premises destroyed by multinational crisis, as well as tackling menace of poverty, literacy level, ecological problems, and any other related environmental or development development of challenge in the Northwest and for related matters. All members would call the bill was committed committee of the whole on Thursday, 14 October 2021. Honorable Aminu Suleiman would move his consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Abubakar Hassan Fulata. I represent Berniwa Krika Sama, Federal Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, Aminu Goro is not on the floor, but I'm one of the 78 co-sponsors of this bill, and therefore I move that the House do consider the report on a bill for an act to establish Northwest Development Commission charged with the responsibility, among others, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the federation account and international donors for settlement, rehabilitation, and restructuring of roads, houses, business premises destroyed by multinational crisis, as well as tackling menace of poverty, literacy level, ecological problems, and any other related environmental or developmental challenge in the Northwest. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Respected colleagues, the next order of the day is constitution of bill for an act to establish the North Central Development Commission, charged with responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of the federation account for the construction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructure damages suffered by the region as a result of the effect of communal crisis, as well as ecological problems and other related environmental and developmental challenges in the North Central state of and for related matters. Honourable members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 14 October 2021. Honourable Saman Madcom will move for his consideration. You go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Elimelu, and I represent the good people of Anochushim, the Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the order paper, they listed, I don't know whether it's a mistake of rules and business. If you look at order paper number 8 and 9, they listed them as for second reading. And went further to now put under consideration again on order 11 and 12. They put them again for consideration. So which of them are we doing? Is it deleting?
Well, Minority Leader, we have taken the second reading of those bills, and are you committed?
I thought you should allow the chair to comment. Yes. Where we are struggling, then we'll get back to you. If you listen to the ruling of the Speaker, while he was on chair, after the second reading, he committed it to committee of the whole, the two bills.
Okay, it was done.
It was done.
But what votes and proceeding taken?
Uh,
Because we ought to have done votes and proceeding to approve
what
for that
possibly
particular
happened?
one, so that we can now come. I don't have issue with it, but it's just on procedure.
Maybe when we come there, we'll suspend the rules so that we can accommodate that. I
Please,
think what they're saying.
please, let him suspend the rule on that and let's take it, please.
Thank you. The next order of the day is consideration of the report on the committee of, sorry. Yes, go ahead and move your motion. Suspend your rules and then move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Shamflata. I represent Plenary Krika Sama Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move that we do suspend our rules to enable me, Honorable Simon is not on the floor. I move that we suspend our rules.
But then the two bills that have just been taken for second reading today, for us to enable us consider them for consideration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Adoption. Then I have to move for adoption of the votes and proceedings of.
Not yet. So just suspend the rules. If you suspend the rules, is sufficient.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we do suspend our rules to enable us take items number 11 and 12 on the order paper. I so move.
Yes, sir. Whip.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I second the motion moved by the Chairman Rules and Business.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against any, that's have it. So go ahead and move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Samfulata. I represent Berniwa Krika Sama Guri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I move that the House do consider a report on a bill for an act to establish North Central Development Commission charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructure damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of communal crisis, as well as tackle ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the North Central states, and for related matters, HB 23, I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Kudaji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my highly respected colleagues. I remain Honorable Mohammed Kudaji Kazauri, member representing Kazauri, Roni, Viwa, and Mkashi. Mr. Speaker, I'm from the Gas State. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by the Chairman, Rules and Business. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against any, that's have it. Maybe for the purpose of clarity, colleagues, what our rules stipulates is after second reading, we'll go for public hearing. What was circumvented is the public hearing, and that's the relevancy of the suspending of our rules to enable us to take that one. Thank you very much. Respected colleagues, we have a supplementary order paper. So the next order of the day is consideration of a report on the Committee on Legislative Library Research and Documentation on a bill for an act to establish a National Assembly Library Trust Fund for the purpose of research, provision of library equipment, and for related matters and related facilities, enhance the research of legislators and staff of the National Assembly and for related matters, all members will call that the report was laid on Tuesday, 12 October 2021. Honorable Jonathan Gwefi will move for his consideration.
My name is Honorable Gaza Jonathan Gwefi, and I represent the people of Karu, Kefi, Kokona Federal Constituency of Nasarawa State. I rise to move a motion that the House do consider the report from the Committee on Legislative Library Research and Documentation on a bill for an act to establish the National Assembly Library Trust Fund for the purpose of research, provision of library equipment and related facilities, enhance the researchers, legislators, and staff of National Assembly, and for related matters. I so move.
Burden. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Adedeji Stanley Olashide. I represent the people of Ibadan Northwest Southwest Federal Constituency. I'm from Oyo State. I rise to second the motion as moved by my chairman, Gaza. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Abubakar Hassan Nalaraba. I represent the good people of Awedo Makana Federal Constituency of Nasarawa State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my dear colleague. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's it. The next order of the day is consideration of a report on the Committee on Tertiary Education and Services on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of Education function, Plateau State, and for the promotion and development of teachers' education in Nigeria and for related matters. All members will recall that the report was laid on Tuesday, 16 February 2021. Honorable Aminu Suleiman will move for its consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Hassan Fulata. I represent Plenary Gdp Ratio Constituency, Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I do move that we suspend our rules to enable me, Honorable Aminu Goro is not on the floor, to enable me take this bill. I so move.
Konda. Yes, sir. Briefing.
My leader, my speaker, I hope I'm protected, sir. I hope I'm protected, sir. The Right Honorable Speaker, my esteemed colleagues, my name is Gaza Jonathan Gwefi, representing the people of Karu, Kefi, Kokona Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion, ably moved by Honorable Flata. I so move.
In favor of the motion, say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Abubakar Hassan Fulata. I represent Plenary Krika Samaguri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I move that the House to consider the report on a bill for an act to establish for the establishment of Federal University of Education function, Plateau State, for the promotion and development of teacher education in Nigeria and for related matters, HP 686. I so move.
Seconder. Yes, Siaka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Ayakunle Ibrahim Siaka. I represent the very good people of Ifo, Wekoro Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Ogun State. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to second the motion as ably moved by Honorable Fulata on the House to consider the establishment of establishment of University of Education at Plateau State. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against any? The ayes have it. Acting leader move that the House do resolve in the Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Benjamin Okezie Carlo. I represent the good people of Nigeria, starting from Bend, the Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Abia State, and today I am representing the speaker, the leader who is currently on a national assignment outside Abuja as the outing leader. I move that the House goes into the Committee of the Whole for the purposes of considering reports with regards to number 10, number 11, number 12, and on the supplement to the order paper, number 1 and number 2. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, learning process. Maybe the guide is simple. Move that the House do resolve to consider the period. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Marcha Munguno Ganze Federal Constituency. I do second the motion that the House do resolve to a Committee of the Whole to consider report.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against any? The ayes have it. House is hereby the Committee of the Whole to consider report. The first report to be considered is for an act to establish the National Biotechnology Development Agency to carry out research, create, and develop public awareness in biotechnology in order to encourage the private sector participation in biotechnology industry in Nigeria and for this matter. I invite Honorable Bagos to give us the synopsis of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Dachu Mustafa Bagos, representing the good great people of Jos South, Jos East Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, this is a straightforward bill. You will recall that this bill was passed in the preceding assembly, and it wasn't assented by Mr. President as a result of some certain issues that were raised. And now the bill is here, and all those areas have been corrected and looked into appropriately. So I call on Mr. Chairman and honorable colleagues to consider this report, and I so submit.
Honorable Bagos, I don't know. I know that biotechnology institution have been there and is there. Is this under reenactment amendment kind of bill?
Yes, it's an amendment. It's an existing agency that.
Then the long title is it's not captured correctly.
Yeah, it's an amendment. It's an existing agency.
Thank you. So, Secretariat, take note. Thank you. Clause 1. Maybe if I may ask you, the particular areas where the President raised issues concerned, this would have been the areas for us of interest to us.
It was just that among the board, the agency, the rural development was not part of the board of the agency. That was just the issue. Yes, sir.
And it's now included. Thank you. 1 plus 1 plus 2. Barisa, what's the problem? What's the problem? Plus 7. Plus 8. Plus 10. Plus 12. $19. 1. Plus 22. Plus 28. Plus 29. $36. $36? Where is 36? Hmm? $36? Explanatory memoranda. No, as amended. No, the amendment, you should do the cleaning from the house. Respect colleagues, the next act is report to establish the North Central Development Commission, charged with responsibility of, among other things, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of the Federation accounts for the construction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructure damages suffered by the region as a result of the effect of the communal crisis, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the North Central states and for related matters. I think this is a very straightforward bill. Thank you. 1 to 5. Six to 30. Explanatory memoranda. The next is Northwest. 1 to 10. 10 to 27. Schedule explanatory memoranda. The next report to consider is the Committee on Legislative Library Research and Documentation on a bill for an act to establish a National Assembly Library Trust Fund for the purpose of research, provision of library equipment and legislative facilities, enhance the research of legislators and the staff of the National Assembly and for related matters. Befi, carried? 1 to 10. Plus 11 to 28. Explanatory memoranda. The next report is for Committee on Tertiary Education, or the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of Education, Pangshin, Plateau State, for the promotion and development of teachers' education in Nigeria and for related matters. Clauses 1 to 1 You don't have. I think it's in your, inside your box. Check your box. Yes. Thank you, sir. 1 to 17. 18 to 27. Hmm? 29. 19 to 29. Thank you. Explanatory memoranda. Okay, schedules. Long title. I don't know. Are we done with all the reports? Yes. Thank you. This one is coming through the window. I don't know. I don't know. Because we have left the chair there and then come back again. Okay. With the leave of the house?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. There was an omission. I move that the House do consider to suspend our rules to enable us to take another report on the Federal College of Education, Kiana. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Seconder? Yes, Bagos.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable colleagues, I'm Dachi Musa Bagos, representing Jos South to Jos East Plateau State. I rise to second the motion to suspend our relevant rules to enable us carry. So,
those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 1 to 23. The schedules. Explanatory memoranda. Yes, sir. Move that will revert to plenary to report progress.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Benjamin Okizekalo. I represent the people of Nigeria, starting from Ben, the Federal Constituency, and from Abia State. Mr. Chairman, I move that the House reverts to plenary to report progress. I so move.
Oui.
Honorable Chairman, I remain Mohammed Tahir Monguno. I represent Martin Monguno, Gaza Federal Constituency of Borno State. I second the motion that the House revert to plenary to report progress.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. The House will have to revert plenary to report progress. Colleagues, The House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the bill for an act to establish a National Biotechnology Development Agency to carry out research, create and develop public awareness in biotechnology in order to encourage a private sector participation in biotechnology industry in Nigeria and for related matters. Approved clauses 1 to 36, the schedule's long title as amended, and the explanatory memorandum of the report. Respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the bill for an act to establish the North Central Development Commission charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of communal crises, as well as tackle the ecological problems and other related environmental or developmental challenges in North Central states and for related matters, and approved clauses 1 to 30, schedules the long title and the explanatory memorandum of the report. Respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the bill for an act to establish the Northwest Development Commission charged with responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of the Federation account and international donors for the settlement of rehabilitation and reconstruction of roads, houses, and businesses premises destroyed by multinational crises, as well as tackling the menace of poverty, literacy level, ecological problems, and any other related environmental and world developmental challenges in the Northwest state and for related matters, clauses 1 to 27, the schedules, the long title, and the explanatory memoranda of the report. Respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the Committee on Legislative Libraries, Research and Documentation on a bill for an act to establish the National Assembly Library Trust Fund for the purpose of research, provision of library equipment and related matters, enhance the research of legislators and staff of the National Assembly, and for related matters, approved clauses 1 to 28, the schedules, the long title, and the explanatory memorandum. Respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the Committee on Tertiary Education and Services on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of Education, Pakshin, Plateau State, and for the promotion and development of teachers' education in Nigeria, and for related matters, and approved clauses 1 to 29, the schedules, the long title, the explanatory memorandum of the report. Respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on Committee on Tertiary Education and Services on the bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Kiana, Nasarawa State, to provide full-time courses of the teaching, instructions, and training in technology, applied science, arts and social sciences, humanities, and management, and to provide for the appointment of the provost and other officers of the college to carry out the administration and discipline of the students of the college and related matters. Approved clauses 1 to 23, the schedules, the long title, and the explanatory memorandum of the report. Move for the adoption of the report.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I am Mohammed Tahir Monguno. I represent Martia Monguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move that the House do adopt the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Elmelu, and I represent the good people of Anyocho Oshimiri Federal Constituency. I am from Delta State. I rise to second the motion moved by the House Whip. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman rules move for the suspension of our rules to allow us take the third reading and also approve the votes and proceedings of today. No, we can have the third reading. There's no rule that compels us that we cannot take a bill, finish it in one day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's why I suspend the rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Sanfilata. I represent Beriwa, Rika Sama, Muri Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker. I'm from the South State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I move that the House that we do suspend our rules to enable us to take a third reading of all the bills so considered today. I so move.
Seconder. Befi.
Right Honorable Speaker, my esteemed colleagues, once again, my name is Gaza Jonathan Befi, and I represent the people of Karu, Kefi, Kokona Federal Constituency. I do rise to second the motion ably moved by the chairman on rules on business, Honorable Flatter, that will suspend our rules to take a third reading of these bills. I so move, my dear. I so second.
In favor of the motion, say aye. Against, say nay. That's it. No, he will move for the motion first. Yes, still in for the leader. Move for the House for the consideration for the third reading of the bills that we have just taken today.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I remain Benjamin Okizekalo, represent the good people of Nigeria, starting from Ben, the Federal Constituency. As instructed by the chair and also recommended by the leadership of this House, that we go by mentioning the numbers in serial order instead of reading all the titles, because they agree with me that they are quite a number. May I move that number 10, number 11, number 12, number 13. We don't have 14, we have supplement 1. And supplementary 2, and supplementary 3. I wanted to confirm from the chairman. Be read the third time. I so move.
It's another innovation. Otherwise, they are supposed to read their long titles so that it will be on record. To allow us to take. Okay. If you are comfortable, fine. Thank you. Seconder.
Okay. As the chair pleases.
It's for record purposes and then avoiding any other manipulation and whatever. So that tomorrow nobody come and insert something. Thank you. That's all. Take your seat. Seconder. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Respected colleagues, I stand to second the motion ably moved by the acting leader that we consider 10, 11, 12, 13, and subsections 1, 2, 3, supplementary sections 1, 2, 3. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
In favor of the motion, say aye. Against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerks is invited to read the long titles of the bills.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish National Biotechnology Development Agency to carry out research, create and develop public awareness in biotechnology in order to encourage a private sector participation in biotechnology industry in Nigeria and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish North Central Development Commission charged with responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of the communal crisis, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the North Central states and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish Northwest Development Commission, charged with responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account and international donors for the settlement, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of roads, houses, and business premises destroyed by multinational crisis, as well as tackling menace of poverty, literacy level, ecological problems, and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the Northwest states and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish the National Assembly Library Trust Fund for the purpose of research, provision of library equipment and related facilities, enhance the research of legislators and staff of the National Assembly and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University of Education, Panshin, Plateau State, for the promotion and development of teacher education in Nigeria and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish Federal College of Education, Kiana, Nasarawa State, to provide full-time courses, teaching, instruction, and training in technology, applied science, arts, social sciences, humanities, and management, and to provide for appointment of the provost and other officers of the college to carry out the administration and discipline of students of the college and for related matters. Third reading.
Let the third term and pass. Read for Chairman rules. Move for disposition of our rules to enable us adopt the votes and proceedings of today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Hassan Fulata. I represent Berniwa Krika Sama Gdp Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I move that we do suspend our extant rules to enable us approve the votes and proceedings of today's sitting. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconda. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Ibrahim Ayokunle Isiaka is my name. I represent the very good people of Ifoiweko Federal Constituency. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to second the motion that we have to suspend its rules so that we take the votes and proceedings as so moved by Honorable Fulata. As so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, still in leader, move for the approval of votes and proceedings of today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Benjamin Okezekalo, represent the good people of Nigeria, starting from Bende Federal Constituency and from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House approve the votes and proceedings of today. I so move.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I rise to second a motion ably moved by the House Leader. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Sitting inch the leader. I don't want to cause problem. Ado is watching you on stream live.
It's an acting leader, but
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Adjournment for the next 2 weeks.
9? Give me a second.
Huh?
All right.
To what?
Thank you.
That will be
That
3 weeks.
that is 3 weeks.
9 is 3 weeks, not 2 weeks. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Benjamin Okezie-Kalu. I represent the good people of Nigeria, starting from Ben, the federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Abia State. I've been deliberated on all the issues on our order paper, the business of the day, did all the considerations that we needed to do. I hereby move that this House be adjourned till the 9th of November. I so move.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Elmelu, and I represent the good people of our North-Oshimili Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, before I second, let it be emphasized that we are not leaving National Assembly. The adjournment tonight is for standing committees to go for budget defense. It's not as if we are going on holidays. There is no holidays. So I second the motion moved by my colleague that will do adjourn plenary for other budget defense activities. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's it. I think maybe just for letting the general public know, but I think every member is aware that as we are closing plenary or suspending plenary, we are out to go for our oversight and then budget defense and whatever activity related to the budget we have just passed the general principle understanding. Thank you. So the House is hereby adjourned to 9th of November. Thank you. 11 a.m.